welcome back again to my channel. It is Christmas time! If you couldn't tell, I'm really excited and I'm trying to be festive, but there's not that much space to hang lights or decorate in this room, so the best I could do was the festive holiday treadmill. And I know you're gonna say, but why are all the lights on the floor? And to that I say, so for today's video, as you could tell by the title, we are doing another comparison video. I'm really excited about this one. We are testing out watercolors that I got from the dollar store and $100 watercolors that I got off Presigify.com. The link for these are going to be in the description below if you want to check out their website where I got these. For today's video, I've gone ahead and sketched out Black Cat Diva from Overwatch. And of course, shameless self-promotion, I'm wearing one of my holiday Merry Katniss pins that are for sale in my shop in the link below, so go check them out. Let's just get right into the video because I'm sure you guys want to know how well these work and which one is better. First up is the $1 watercolors from the dollar store. So I can't really get the paper off, so I guess that's just gonna stay there. And also, I'm not painting with that. You see this? This is Demon Spawn. So real quick, I just want to swatch these in this watercolor notebook that I have. This palette comes with 8 colors, but one of them is white, which is, I guess, good and bad. I can mix it to lighten colors, but it's not really a standalone color on its own, so that's definitely going to be interesting, and I don't know if I'll really use it that much, but we'll see. So far the colors look decent. I guess they're pretty saturated for being only $1, so we'll see how they hold up against the $100 watercolors. Now let's take a look at the $100 watercolors. So I just want to show you guys. Here's the box. Here's my hand for scale. I'm just gonna open it because I'm really curious as to why. Why is this so much money? Okay, so it's this mini palette. It looks like it's portable. There's some space to mix, so some mixing palettes. Are you kidding me? Stop. This is so tiny. Don't want to be too judgmental just yet. So it looks like they give us 12 colors here. I'm gonna open up each of them individually and then we will test them out. I'm also gonna say I am like not fancy enough for these watercolors. So for these swatches, I tried to match the colors as closely as I could to the $1 brand of watercolors. So obviously there are 12 watercolors in this palette versus the 8 in the dollar store one. So I just added the extra swatches on the side, but first impressions of these watercolors is that they're super saturated and pigmented, which I expected out of a expensive brand of watercolor, but we're gonna have to really see how they hold up against each other when I actually use them to create a full drawing. So let's just get into that because I want to see how they hold up. So the first set I'm going to be testing is the dollar store paints. As I stated before, I sketched out Black Cat Diva from Overwatch. This is one of her skins and I think it's really adorable, so I figured it would make a nice piece of art for this video. So what I did was I have a light box. You may have seen it in a past Wish video, and what I did was I took my sketch and a sheet of watercolor paper over it and then just inked the line art directly onto the watercolor paper, and I did that twice, so I have the exact same drawing for each watercolor palette. So in terms of mixing colors with this 8-color palette, like I said before, it has white included, which I don't really know if I would consider a color. I did end up using the white to mix into some of the colors to lighten them a bit, but other than that, I didn't have any other use for it, so There was no brown in this palette, which was another thing, so that was a little bit annoying, but that's okay. I made do without it. Overall, making the skin tone for her wasn't too difficult. I had to dilute it with a lot of water, but I basically just mixed the orange and the yellow together, diluted with a little bit of white inside, and then diluted with a lot of water. So that's how I came to that. But overall, she's looking pretty pale and washed out at this present moment, which is why I was trying to add some depth and definition to her by layering on more color. The less water you use when you're using watercolors, the more saturated your color will be. So if you use a ton of water and then just a little bit of the paint color, it'll be super spread out and more on the transparent side. Whereas if you add a lot more of the pigment and not too much water, you can get darker colors. So I was able to play around with this a little bit here, but the colors really only got so dark. They weren't bad quality. In my opinion, if I was somebody just kind of starting out, or if I didn't have another set of watercolors and I just wanted a quick one, honestly, these really aren't that bad. I expected them to be pretty terrible because I've had some cheap watercolor palettes in the past. They've been super chalky and just like terrible. You touch the paper and it just doesn't feel good, and sometimes the colors get messed up and they're just not good. But this actually wasn't like that. These are kind of like those plasticky kind of watercolors that, like, I think some of the other brands or like kids watercolors kind of use that kind of texture for their watercolors. I'm not really sure what it's called, but these were definitely not chalky, but still weren't as vibrant as I want them to be. Overall on their own though, they weren't that bad, and I think you could totally get by using these, especially since they're only $1, and that's a really good value for the range of color I was able to get within this drawing. I think the number one tip is, if you want more depth in your drawing, kind of mix the colors that you have here. So for example, on the bow, for the red, to shade the inner part of the bow a little bit more, instead of using just red, I ended up mixing a little bit of purple in there, or blue, or whatever color was in here. Mixed a little bit of that in, and that helped give it a little bit more depth. So that's a tip you can use. But yeah, overall, this wasn't too bad, and I liked the end result, so definitely not that bad. So now on to the fancy Rembrandt $100 watercolors. I will say that these watercolors were definitely better quality as I was using them. As you can see here, for her skin color, I was using a similar amount of paint to mix with the water as I was with the $1 ones, but the color I was getting was so much more potent and so much darker that I had to try a few times just to get it right, and I kept blotting it away with paper towels. So yeah, these are definitely pigmented, so you really, a little bit of color goes a long way, honestly. And I really had a good time using these. They were very smooth, they were not chalky at all, they were just really nice to use. Doing the math, these 12 colors come to about $8.33 each, but it seems that these pans are pretty deep. I don't think they're half pans, but they seem like they hold a good amount of watercolor paint in them, so they should last a while, especially since you only need a little bit to get the desired color or pigment that you want. So on their website, I went ahead and looked on the Rembrandt website, and I looked at their watercolors. They say that their watercolors are the highest degree of light fastness, which is an important aspect of art supplies, whether it be markers or paints. You want to look at light fastness, and if you don't know what that is, that means that basically if you were to put your artwork in the sunlight, over time a material that is not light fast might start to fade away very quickly, and it won't completely lose all its color, but it will fade over time, whereas these paints say that they are light fast. So if I was to leave this artwork in the sunlight or in a picture frame by a window that gets a lot of light for a long time, like months on end, it should not lose any of its saturation. It should stay exactly as it is, or close to that. So that's usually really good quality to look for, and it's to be expected, or at least I expect it when I'm looking at really expensive watercolors. Like I said, these were very, very intense colors, so a little bit goes a long way. getting the exact same shades as I had in the other palette was a little bit more difficult because, like I said, I wasn't used to how much paint to water ratio I needed. I kept putting a little bit too much paint, thus making the colors a little bit darker, whereas in the other drawing I was able to get them to be a little bit more light on like her bow and some of those features. But definitely the hair color I enjoyed a lot more, the tone that I got on this drawing, because there's an additional color on the bottom row there. It's like that mustardy color. I was able to mix that with the yellow and orange to make a more blonde color rather than a yellow hair color, which I think looks a lot more natural and just closer to the original character's color in general. One thing I'll notice that is I'll note that I noticed a big difference with is the black. So the black on these watercolors is definitely a lot darker and a lot more, it's just a better black. I mean, if that makes sense. The black from the dollar store watercolors was definitely a little bit more on the grayish side, or like the warm gray side, where this one is much cooler black, which I prefer and I think just looks better overall. I was able to get it super dark in some of those detail areas, so I really enjoyed the way that that one worked. Overall, I had a good time using these watercolors. I don't know if I would say that the difference between the dollar store and $100 watercolors is worth that much, because overall I think they both performed very well. It just depends on your level of skill and your budget and what you're looking for. Of course, there are many types of watercolor brands in between with different values that are not on either like the super cheap end or the super expensive end. You can get a lot of mid-tier watercolors that are also very good. So I just like to see the differences between both extremes, and I can't say I was disappointed with either of the materials. And here are the two artworks side by side. The $1 watercolors are on the left and the 100 is on the right. You can definitely tell a difference when you look at them side by side. Like I said before, on their own I think they both look good, but you definitely notice the difference in the saturation between both of them when they're next to each other. So that's definitely something that you're gonna have to let me know which one you prefer more in the comments below. So that is my watercolor comparison video. If I had to choose one, I would go with the $1 ones just because they do save you a lot more money. But I will say that the $100 watercolors were very nice quality and they were definitely a lot more saturated and pigmented. So I'm gonna end the video here. I baked some fresh gingerbread cookies with my friend last night and I'm gonna go eat some now because they're delicious. Here's a picture of the ones I decorated yesterday, and sorry, I'm just really proud of this little star guy right here. He's really cute. So as always, all of my links are in the description below for my shop and my Instagram if you want to see new artworks and other things that I don't post here on YouTube. And as always, I post a new video every Friday, so if you're interested in seeing art-related videos, consider subscribing below. I will see you guys all next Friday for my new video, and as always, have a beautiful day. Bye bye!